TV. Hi, after Carrie, I want my queer TV. We want our queer TV.
I am Christina Applegate, and I want my queer TV.
I am Katie Seagal, and you are watching Tinseltown's Queer from the Playboy Mansion. I mean, how cool is that?
It's very cool.
We're at the Playboy Mansion.
Well, welcome.
This show is coming to you live on February 7th, 1998. If you're seeing it at any other time, consider it a video time capsule of what was going on at this point in history. Hi, I'm Nicholas Snow, and today on PromoHomo.TV, queer television comes out of the closet. This is me in 1998. With me on the show today, I'm very proud to welcome back veteran March organizer, out comic, and there's many other things that could be used to describe Robin Tyler. Welcome, Robin.
Darling, oh yes, we're gay. We're gonna shake hands. Okay, yes.
Welcome back.
Hey.
And this is me in 1994. Look into a camera.
Yes.
And tell people to come out, as only Robin Tyler can. I'm your host, Nicholas Snow. Openly gay in the media since the mid-1980s. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at PromoHomo.TV. And on Facebook.com/Nicholas.Snow. For this and so much more, visit PromoHomo.TV. And now, on with the snow. show.
Hello, everybody. Yes, you've just seen clips of me across the decades, and the side-by-side you're seeing literally is about 30 years apart. So I am broadcasting live January 9th, 2023. It is just after 6 p.m. Pacific time, and that screenshot you're seeing is of the first taping of my public access television show, very popular throughout the LA area in the 1990s, called Tinseltown's Queer, and that first episode was taped on April 28th, 1993, 3 days after a march on Washington. So in this first live broadcast of 2023, I am beginning a year-long celebration of the 30th anniversary of this show, which was very significant in the formulation of my media activism. I don't have the specific ticket availability yet, but I want all of you who see this to save the date for the 30th anniversary retrospective screening of my public access TV show Tinseltown's Queer to take place Saturday, April 29th at 7 p.m. at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. I'm going to be having highlights of my public access show, but I'm also going to be showing some significant clips from the last decade of my media activism and some other surprises as well. Now, in this episode tonight, I'm just so excited because my favorite interview, literally, I'll go with my favorite interview. Yeah, I've interviewed so many different people, but of all of the media that I've created over the decades, there's a particular part of an interview that I did with Robin Tyler, who's a giant in the LGBTQ Civil Rights Movement. I mean, a giant. And she was on my show twice. And the first time I interviewed Robin was in 1994. And I'm going to be interviewing her. So what I'm doing is, Robin couldn't be here tonight during this live broadcast. So last week I pre-recorded an interview. And at the beginning of this interview, I play this historic clip from 1994. And then we have our conversation. So coming up, I have an historic interview, which includes that favorite clip of one of my favorite clips of all time, and I hope that it becomes one of your favorite clips of all time. So we have people watching live. Dante is watching. I imagine he's watching from LA. And Lance, who's one of my PromoHomo.TV superstars, has tuned in live. He says, glad to see you're mending well. What is he talking about? Well, I lost a fight with a parking lot in a grocery store Friday afternoon, and this is the remnants of a hematoma and a concussion. But I am doing well, and I'm actually quite grateful because it could have been much worse, and it wasn't. So thank my higher power. In the show today, an amazing interview with Robin Tyler coming up. And I know you're going to want to stay tuned for it after this. PromoHomo.TV is all about empowering you, our communities, and our world. For their support of PromoHomo.TV, I wish to thank my sponsors. DAP Health. I've been a grateful client of DAP Health for more than a decade. One of their value statements, we welcome all people, period.
Nothing like the city we're at. Got tired of the running.
Willie's Modern Fare, 1501 Uptown Gastropub, and 849 Restaurant and Lounge. 3 restaurants, unlimited flavors. Shouting out to my media partners. Pink Media, amplifying PromoHomo.TV across the Twitterverse with their hashtag I Love Gay campaign. David Perry and Associates, a PR and marketing firm. GayDesertGuide.lgbt. And KGay 1065 Palm Springs, available worldwide. Ask your smart speaker to play KGAY. And last but not least, the PromoHomo.TV superstars who voluntarily subscribe to the free content at PromoHomo.TV for as little as $1 a month. Join them at patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV. Meet many of them at PromoHomo.TV/superstars. Now here's how you can step up to the plate. To find out how you can help me empower you, our communities, and our world, visit PromoHomo.TV/empower. Thank you. That's the first time that particular video has aired in my show. I hope you like it. I think it's very important for me to acknowledge the individuals and businesses that make this show possible. So, and I really do encourage you to go to patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV to help me continue doing this work. So, in the interview, one of the things that I talk about with Robin is her upcoming performance, her last public performance, she believes, of her one-woman show, Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Groom. So in the interview, we talked about a February date, and I just wanted you to know that the date has changed for Robin Tyler's show that we discuss in the interview. It's going to be Sunday, March 26th at 4 p.m. at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. The text associated with this video has a ticket link, but you can also search Eventbrite for Robin Tyler and find that event. It worked for me, just searching Eventbrite for Robin Tyler. So so Robin's one-woman multimedia play, Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Groom, is a hilarious personal walk through Robin's life as a proud lesbian activist from the 1950s to the present. Really, really an amazing experience. So I want you to, I'm going to be there, and it's going to be sold out, and it's in the smaller theater at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. So I feel sorry for anybody that doesn't make it in. So get your tickets in advance for that. Before I start that interview with Robin, that was filmed last week, I also want to give a shout out to Christian Ortega, who's one of my loyal viewers. And he says, Feliz cumpleaños, thank you so much. And Lance loved that new video, so I really appreciate that. So without further delay, I'm going to play this pre-recorded interview with Robin, but keep in mind, I'm here and I can put your live comments on screen throughout this pre-recorded interview, and I'll be back after the fact. I don't remember when I first heard the name Robin Tyler, but I'm so glad I did. I came to know Robin in activism circles in the LA area in the late 80s and into the 90s. And she's one of my sheroes, one of my role models. She's a giant in the LGBTQ plus community. For a point of reference, this interview is being recorded on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. And without further delay, let me welcome to the show my friend Robin Tyler. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Can you believe we're both still here?
Thank goodness. We're both still here. We're both still queer. That's it.
So,
I think the
before.
hardest thing about becoming older is losing friends for me, because so many of my close friends that were also activists, Jean Cordova, Jean O'Leary, my wife, Pat Harrison, they've all passed away and I'm still here. So that's the most difficult thing.
You also lost 2 pets.
Yes. Wonton and Mushu pork. Katharine Hepburn said, growing old isn't for sissies. What we're sissies when we're growing old,
Well, one thing about being your age and a giant, as I like to say, in the LGBTQ plus civil rights movement is that a lot of people are telling your story. I know that there's documentary work that you've been appearing in, and
Yes.
that there's retrospectives. And I'm wondering, when you watch these stories and films and everything that include you and your life story, do you get on an emotional level that that's you? Or do you feel like you're watching someone else's story?
I don't live in the past, so I'm glad that people interview me. And it's, I was just flown up to Canada because they say I was the original activist out there. But of course, they don't know that because anybody older than me would be dead. So I'm alive, so I become the first one. But I don't live in the past. We have so much to do today. And so I don't look back it's been a very satisfying life. But when I look at it, I don't look at myself that much. I don't look at the documentaries. I look at my show, my material, just to learn it if I'm going to do a show. But other than that, I live in the present.
Okay.
You're hearing the meow from my cat, by the way.
Oh, and what is your cat's name?
I have 2 cats. One is Dylan and the other is Hillary. And
I wonder who Hillary's named after.
Yeah, Hillary, after Hillary.
And I wonder who Dylan's named after.
My neighbor named him. He was like a feral cat that Patty took in and got fixed. And now he comes here and he's, it's really pouring out today and I won't let them out. So they're pacing and complaining that I'm killing them, but they have the best food. Their litter is clean. I'm controlled by cats. That's my personal life.
So you mentioned it, so I'm going to talk about it now instead of later in the interview. But am I to understand correctly that you are about to do your last show as an onstage performer?
Well, it feels like a farewell show to me. It's not a stand-up comedy show, like an hour of stand-up. It's actually my life story that I'm doing. So it's about an hour and a half. It's a play. And I go through all the marches. It's video and tape and all the marches and my lovers and my lovers and my lovers. I have to have an intermission.
So this is happening at the Palm Springs Cultural Center.
Yes, on February the 12th at 4 p.m.
And that's a Sunday.
Yes, and they can get tickets on Eventbrite under Robin Tyler. And I just decided to do it. But the reason I say it's the last show of this kind of show. I mean, I may do a little stand up here and there, but this is an actual hour and a half play, and it's a hard thing to do. So I probably, the last time I did it was pre-COVID at the Santa Monica Theater, and now I'm going to do it, and it'll probably be the last time I do the play. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make sure to be there.
I hope so. I hope so. I want you right on stage with me. I'll do it like I'm telling you the story.
Well, I'm just so honored to be anywhere in your orbit. But what I want to do right now, Robin, I'm celebrating the 30th anniversary of my public access show, Tinseltown's Queer.
You have worked very, very hard, and you've reached a lot of people, and I think you're just fantastic. I really appreciate all the work you've done.
It's
and
too
what you contributed.
It's too early in the show for me to start crying, but thank you. That means so much. That means so much from me. From you. I know you mean it.
Yeah.
So, 1993, on April 28th, 3 days after the March on Washington that year, I taped the first episode of Tinseltown's Queer in the Santa Monica studios of Century Cable. The first time I had you on my show was 1994, and to this day, the clip I'm about to show is one of my most cherished clips from all of my decades in media activism. So to create the context for the rest of our conversation, I'm going to play the clip. So I'm 32 years old in this clip in 1994.
What year was it? 94? Okay, 42. I was 52.
Okay, so I'm 60 today, and people can do the math.
No, I'm 80. I'll be 81 in April.
I'll be 61 in April. April what?
April the 8th. You?
I'm April 25th.
Are you an Aries?
I'm a Taurus.
All right, it's okay. It's not you.
All right, so I don't know if you will have ever seen this clip, Robin, but we're going to watch it together, and we'll resume our conversation on the other side.
Okay.
We're not a movement fighting about the right to have sex, because we could have sex in the darkness of rooms and behind trees if you wanted to. Fighting for the right to love.
Right, and we can't separate the fight for our rights from the fight for anybody's rights.
Yeah, but we don't. Most other movements separate us from them. The truth of the matter is we're always saying, well, we have to be part of this movement and that movement. And the fact is most civil rights movements separate us from them. We've always tried to be inclusive while we've been excluded.
Well, maybe in a way
It's a little controversial, isn't it?
Maybe in a way we are great leaders on the planet, helping to create a new vision and a new frontier.
Well, that's why I think we have to stop saying we want to be the same as straight people. I frankly think that we're sensitive to the environment. We're sensitive to being anti-war. We certainly have been at the forefront of most of the movements in this country. And so I don't want to be, I wish we all had a purple dot in the middle of our forehead so we could never, ever pass.
Look out look into a camera.
Yes.
And tell people to come out, as only Robin Tyler can.
People know that you are gay and lesbian anyway. Your closet does nothing but trap you in a prison. It makes everything in your life a lie. It's not a matter of flaunting. If two people walk down the street holding hands and they're straight, it's called sharing. If we walk down the street holding hands, it's called flaunting. If you are not ashamed of your lover, if you do not want to hide who you are and your right to love and your family relationship, if you want to have respect and start having a healthy self-esteem, then you have got to come out. And it does. You have to make sacrifices. We're not saying you won't make sacrifices. I made a sacrifice. I was on ABC television. When I came out, I was starring, and you say, well, you're big in television. You could afford to do it. Nobody can afford to do it, But we're the only movement that talks in terms of affordability. The black movement in South Africa didn't say, can you afford to fight apartheid? They said you can't afford not to fight it. And I'm saying to you You can't afford not to fight homophobia. If you stay in the closet, then you're as much a part of the problem as the religious right, because you are allowing them to force our love back into silence, and therefore you become a problem to us and to yourself and to the 10 to 12% of the children that are going to grow up to be gay or lesbian. So come out. I swear to God, it's one step, and you will feel so good and so healthy and so free.
You brought tears to my eyes.
Well, I'm glad. Are you not wearing contacts, are you? Look at you crying. Give me a hug. All right.
It's just like, people have like 2 minutes left, but people think...
It's okay. Talk from your heart.
I will. People think, a lot of people think that those of us who are in leadership positions are like egomaniacs, or we're looking for praise or admiration or whatever, but for me, the bottom line is we have a life force that we possess as long as we're blessed to have our physical bodies, and we can use that life force to really make a difference. And that's what I so admire about you. Every time I see you speak, even if I'm in a crowd of thousands, I feel personally touched by you. And, thank the goddess for Robin Tyler.
That's very sweet of you. I'm just a grain of sand, just one little grain in a whole beachfront of action.
So how does that feel, Robin?
I'm glad I was humble. That was correct. It's true. It's true. I think people, if they're serving, should be humble. I don't think it's about ego or whatever. It's the movement isn't show business. It's a movement. But it's interesting. Since that interview, we still don't have an equal rights, a national equal rights bill. They passed marriage, the military, they assured this or that, but we still don't have a national bill. And also, it's still a struggle. It's still a struggle. But I love the struggle because I think passion is much better than Prozac. What my favorite? Nobody asked me what my favorite line is, but I do have a favorite line that I.
Hey, Robin, what is your favorite line?
Oh, good. My favorite line. You remember when they used to call homosexuality a disease, and then in April of I think 73 or 74, all of a sudden they took it off of that we were mentally ill. Right, millions of us were cured in one day. Well, before that, I wrote a line saying, "If homosexuality is a disease, we should all call in sick to work. Hi, can't work today, still queer." So that was my favorite line. Because, humor is a tool. It's a weapon, and it's a sword, and it's a way to strike back, and it disarms people.
I remember that line of yours many times. And, for a period of time in the 90s, I was performing at Gay and Lesbian Comedy Night in the Belly Room at the Comedy Store.
Ah, okay.
But I don't think I used this line at the time, but one of my favorite little bits is people ask me if I'm a homosexual, and I said, I'm not sure, but I'm a hopeful sexual.
That's cute.
And, Linda Montgomery, Linda Montgomery from, I don't know if you know Linda, but she was doing a lot of comedy.
I've produced a lot of comics, including Linda.
Right. Well, she had this hilarious bit, and if I remember correctly, she says, my commanding officer told me that I was gay. Of course, she was laying naked on top of me. That's what Linda said. And this is a little racy, but and I don't think this is original, but I love repeating it. I'm not sure when I knew I was gay, but I think I had a dick in my mouth at the time.
That's a little racy. I did a line at the gay games. It's not about sex being gay because, I'm 81. I'm really not sexual anymore, but I'm still a lesbian. So I used to do a line. If I never had sex with a woman again, I would still be a lesbian. I wouldn't be a happy lesbian. But
So, when you do look back at your vast legacy, are there a moment or moments that you cherish the most?
Yes, my moments with Pat Harrison. We were a comedy team, Harrison and Tyler. We were lovers. We lived together for 55 years. So if you're gay, you'll understand this. First, we were lovers, then we became family, but we always lived together because, a lot of our families rejected us. So gay people, their ex-lovers became family. And I should have had a large family, actually. But anyway, but I cherish my time with Patty because nothing replaces 55 years. We were shot at. We were stopped at Rams Radio football game, called for sports scholarships for women in the 70s. We went to Vietnam and did an anti-war show afterward. So it wasn't just that we slept together or we did comedy together, but we had all of these adventures together. And I will never forget my time with Patty. And I sure hope whatever that I get to see her again in some kind of whatever we do when we're gone.
Well, I was honored to know your wife, Diane, and I would love for you to speak about her as well and talk about your specific connection to marriage equality.
Well, first of all, they call it same-sex marriage, but there's no such thing as same-sex marriage because after marriage, sex is never the same. Diane Olson and I were a couple, and we were the first couple in California to file for the right to get married. Troy Perry, who's a friend of mine, Reverend Troy Perry, he and his husband Philip DeBleek had married in Canada. So we filed for the right to get married, and Troy and Philip filed to have their Canadian marriage recognized. And Gloria Allred was our attorney, her law firm, and we were the first actually to file. And the lawsuit came out of the bastion of radical gay liberation, Beverly Hills. Well, we are everywhere. And so we filed, and in San Francisco, Gavin started to marry couples as part of a civil rights demonstration. And when their marriages were annulled, we had already filed the lawsuit, and they ended up joining our lawsuit. We became one big lawsuit, but people thought that it started the lawsuit in San Francisco. It didn't. It actually started in Los Angeles, and then it ended up to be the lawsuit that brought marriage equality to California before Prop 8.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was honored to know Diane. I'm sorry for your loss. I know that it couldn't have been easy.
Well, what was so hard was I lived with Patty and Diane. I was with Diane for 26 years and Patty for 55, and they passed away within 11 months of each other of cancer. And my two pugs also died during that time. So I was left after all those years, just basically with nothing. And but I had a program behind me, and so I had some kind of, I understood, when you go through hell, the only thing to do is keep going. And so it took me a long time to get over the grief. And then we were slapped in the face with COVID. Oh, excuse me, you're over the grief, but now you have to stay home for 3 years because we have COVID. So it's been a very difficult time. And thank God I have the BBC. I watch America, the BBC. I love the mysteries and stuff, but it has been a very difficult time. And I think we're beginning to come out of it. I think so. It's not as difficult as, as other people have had it because they haven't had I live in a nice house, but when you lose everything and everyone, it's just, I'm just grateful that I came out of it and that I'm left with the memories. For those of you who have lost somebody or are in grief now, the memory doesn't go away, but the hurt gets less. And what's less after years and years are the memories, the cherished memories. And you can remember without going through the pain does go eventually. So hold on if you're going through it. I swear to God, you will get through it and you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Beautifully stated. So, one of the things that's true about you is you fought for abortion rights before Roe v. Wade. You saw abortion rights exist in the United States for 50 years and then get overturned. Are you shell-shocked?
No, I'm not. I think we live in a very religious country. And I think that religion has got its, and when I say religion, I'm talking about patriarchal organized right-wing religion, and I think they've always used it as a battering ram. So the fact that what I don't understand is how these justices on the Supreme Court could lie in a deposition. Isn't that illegal? And then go to the Supreme Court and then do the opposite of what they said they would do. So what they did is they lied under oath to Congress, and they should be. I think those people, Amy Coney Barrett, and those people, and Gorsuch, and those people in the Supreme Court, they actually should not only be not in the Supreme Court, but they should be prosecuted, for lying under oath. So I don't know why. Well, we shouldn't have believed them anyway. What are we kidding? They lied under oath in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not so supreme now. It's very right wing. It's not so supreme. So it's going to be hard.
That we got to keep fighting. So talk about your deep history with multiple marches on Washington.
Okay. Well, finally, FX did a story on them on I don't know if you saw it, called Pride. They did a series called Pride, and they finally gave me credit with calling the first march in Washington in '79. A lot of people mistakenly thought that Harvey Milk called for it. He did not. I called for it, and so they finally showed the clip of my calling for it and me speaking at it. We did it in Harvey's honor. Harvey, got assassinated. But basically, I was the first to call for it. So I called for that march, and Troy Perry and I took a train across the country. And I said, Troy, every time the train stops, we're going to speak to people. And we were on with like 300 gay men and 5 lesbians that wouldn't talk to them. Well, people weren't going to come out. They were scared. So what would happen was our little chorus of gay men would jump off the train and run around and greet us. And the press said hundreds of homosexuals greet Reverend Troy Perry and Robin Tyler. But it was literally, we carried our own chorus line. And we made, I had them make up signs, welcome Troy, welcome Robin. But it was our very own, train. And when we finally got to Washington, we did the first march on Washington. And we didn't know how many people would show up. And 100,000 came. And then in '87, I produced the main stage for that Washington March. And the big thing then was the AIDS quilt. And but also at the same time, 2 men from LA had called up and asked me to do a marriage ceremony. And the board voted against it, except for PFLAG and MCC Church. So, of course, the entire board committee, every gay organization, every legal organization voted against it. So, of course, I did it anyway, which is why I'm known as she who is difficult to work with. And we did the wedding. So on one hand, we had the AIDS quilt and we had the wedding, which thousands of people, that was the first mass civil rights demonstration for same-sex marriage. And so I think at that March on Washington, we changed. I think we went from being a gay liberation movement, right, to fighting for the right to have sex, right? Once the sodomy laws were dropped, we didn't have to fight for that. So we went from a liberation movement to an LGBT civil rights movement. And so all of a sudden, when people say we don't need marriage, it's not a matter of needing it. We deserve every civil right that everybody else has. It doesn't matter whether we're going to exercise it or not. We have to, marriage is nothing but a government contract that allows for a lot of tax benefits, for one thing. So I do believe we became much more of a civil rights movement. And I think that AIDS helped that also, because by not having, for instance, marriage, 2 men could live together for 20 years, one would die of AIDS, and the family would swoop in and take everything they had, or not let them to the funeral. So I think it is very important that we had legal recognition of our relation. I mean, we don't need the Tupperware, right? And we don't need the blessing, and we don't need the white gowns. Well, you may need the white gowns, but I don't need the white gowns. But what we did need was legal recognition. Not that they said, well, you could go to a hospital and they let you in. Not in the hospital. This is for tax purposes, for insurance purposes, for housing, for those of us that don't have money, that couldn't afford to go and have 500 pages drawn up by a lawyer, recognizing each other. So marriage was an extremely important issue. And one of the reasons it was important is they began to see us, instead of being the other, right, because we were painted as predators, all of a sudden, love is love. And we were the same as other people, wanted to meet, fall in love, if we wanted to have children, have children. We weren't so different. Once we stepped out of the shadows, we were their sisters, their brothers, their sons, their daughters, their aunts, their uncles, but we were them. We weren't so different. And except, of course, among each other, we know we're more magnificent, but we try not to say that in front of straight people. So I think marriage was an extremely important issue. Very, very important.
Um, in this first episode of 2023, that's broadcasting live on January 9th, in the context of announcing the 30th anniversary of Tinseltown Square, I wanted to feature that historic clip of you and me, and I wanted to feature this fresh interview with you. So I'm so grateful that you joined me. I was wondering, because we do have time, is there anything you would like to add that we haven't talked about today?
There's something I do want to say. Yes, a lot of people, and this is an anti-Harvey Milk. I love Harvey Milk and everything he did, but there's not just one hero in our movement. Frank Kameny, who sued the government and spent 50 years fighting for people to be able to work for the government because he got fired as a scientist. Barbara Giddings, Barbara and Ann, Dell Phillips. There's so many, Reverend Troy Perry. There's so many people that are heroes in this movement. So don't let them take one person. Harvey got assassinated, and that was too bad. But this isn't about one hero. Somehow we always need to look at one. And, James Baldwin, and who's the guy that at the March on Washington for Black Rights, and they wouldn't let him on because he was gay, but he actually organized the whole thing. He was a gay man. I'll think of his name. But the point is, there are many, many heroes in our movement. And so it's time we stop just concentrating on one or two. I think we should be taught in school, absolutely. And because we've been invisible throughout history. And so I think it's really important for people to know that we existed, and we existed in every category, every career. When Patty and I were in Vietnam, our audiences were filled with gays and lesbians, hundreds and hundreds of them, because they found out that there was a show of at the time we were all gay, then we became lesbian, but gay women on stage. So I'm saying that we have to focus on how many great heroes we've had in our past, and then become one in the future. It's very important if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So it's very important for everybody to do something. Don't sit back and say, well, we have gay rights now. We don't. We don't have a national bill. We're drag queens are being attacked. Of all the people they're attacking, I cannot believe they're attacking drag queens. But at least the stiletto heels, I think, can be a weapon, But I think it's really important we don't feel comfortable. In Hitler's Germany, the two biggest movements before Hitler took over were the gay movement and the women's movement. So I think it's very important for us not to rest, but to keep organized, to keep active, and to keep fighting, because it's going to be a lifelong struggle. And even then, and right now we're struggling for our very democracy. So I just think keep fighting, keep laughing, and keep fighting.
The name you were trying to think of is Bayard Rustin.
Yes, Bayard Rustin. I love Bayard Rustin.
Who helped organize, was the mastermind behind Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington. He had
studied with Gandhi, and so he came back with the idea of the peace movement and of nonviolence. It was Bayard Rustin. And it was Bayard Rustin that helped write I Had a Dream speech. And it was Bayard Rustin that they wouldn't let on stage. So I think it's really important that we show our heroes and heroines. And, we don't ever want to be invisible again, ever.
So do you think of your life in chapters? And are you beginning a new one with the final performance of your stage play?
No, you know what? I guess this will be the final chapter, but one never knows. My grandparents lived into their 90s. So, I could say this is the final chapter and I've done this. And then all of a sudden there's another March. And you know what? I'd rather live in the present, right? Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present, right? So I'd rather live in the present and not think of anything as final. Just keep going. Just keep going.
Well, I want you to know, Robin, that I love you from the bottom of my heart.
I love you too, Nicholas. Thank you so much for doing this interview.
And there you have it. You're back with me live on January 9th, 2023. And as I mentioned before the interview and showed you during the interview, that interview was Robin was taped last week because she's supporting a friend of hers tonight, Seppi Shine, who's being sworn in West Hollywood. I don't know in which position, maybe mayor, I don't know. So I also wanted to re-acknowledge Rosser Goodman, who tuned in during the interview. I've known Rosser for decades as well, and it's just really quite amazing that all of us are still here, still doing good work. So giving a shout out to Rosser, who says, love you both, and right back at you, Rosser. Lance says, thank you for another great show. And Kim Hunter, who I've known for decades, is watching from Cambodia. Hey, Kim, thanks for watching live. So I started the first full-time job that I've had in 20 years today because I'm committed to making PromoHomo.TV happen, and I invested my inheritance and I did everything I could to grow this on my own, and I need a little bit more money than I'm bringing in. So I've got the full-time job, and that's your cue to go to patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV and to become a PromoHomo.TV superstar if you want to. You know what? It's about attraction rather than promotion. Everything that comes that I need to come to me will. But I mentioned that I'm working this other full-time job because I won't be coming to you live nightly, but my commitment is to come to you consistently over the months and years, 2 to 3 episodes a week. So that's what I'm gearing up for. And just a reminder to save the date for the 30th anniversary retrospective screening of my historic public access show, TV show, Tinseltown's Queer. And that's going to happen Saturday, April 29th at 7 p.m. at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. You can't get tickets yet, but I want you to put the date in your calendar. And you can follow up with me later to find out how to get tickets. So that basically puts in a can my first broadcast of 2023, and I'm really delighted that you were here to join it. Follow me on Twitter and Insta at PromoHomo.TV so you can always know when I'm going live, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/PromoHomo.TV network, and you'll get reminded as well. Thank you so much for watching. My love goes out to Robin Tyler and to all of you, and I will see you next time.
In a safe place, I got room to breathe. Been a long chase, but at last I'm free. These open woods, I knew I could find peace here. Nothing like the city where I got tired of the running, the catching up. I got hungry for the stunning high mountain tops. So I made some plans, some dreams to catch, to promised lands, to find my path, see the planet from greater heights. I have found a place out of time and space, far from city life, up on greater heights. See the blue sky, feel the wind that blows, get the rush in, heaven only knows. I'm all alone, still lying far from lonely, on a journey, on a winding road. Got tired of the running, the catching up. got hungry for the sun.